Hello, YouTubers, and welcome to Level-Headed News. Brenda. I have 4 articles in this episode for you. The URLs are in the description of the video for your convenience. The first one here is off of Conservative Tribune. It says, bans use of expectant mother term to avoid offending transgenders. To scroll up here so I can read it. It says, politically correct culture has achieved a new milestone of insanity in the United Kingdom, where it now taboo for doctors to refer to pregnant women as expectant mothers. And no, this is not a joke. According to the UK Daily Telegraph, the British Medical Association issued an internal guidance late last year encouraging doctors to include intersex men and trans men who may get pregnant by saying pregnant people instead of expectant mothers. But that was not all. The guidance also called for referring to the elderly as older people, elevators, lifts suitable for the disabled as accessible lifts, surnames as family names, mankind as humanity, etc. This guide promotes good practice through the use of language that shows respect for sensitives or sensitivity toward everyone. The guidance reportedly read, of appropriate words makes an important contribution towards the celebration of diversity. As well as avoiding offense, it is about treating each other with dignity and equal members of an integrated community, it added. Truthfully, this guidance had nothing whatsoever to do with treating each other with dignity, since treatment of others requires being honest, and there's nothing remotely honest about sugarcoating the truth with politically correct language. And there's some video in this if you would like to pull that up and take a look at that at your leisure. Continues, says the only caveat, and it's quite a minor one at that, was that the guidance allegedly only applied to so-called staff members, or BMA staff and representatives aimed at promoting an inclusive workplace at the BMA, a spokesman said. It's not workplace guidance for doctors, which is clear from the fact that it does not refer to patients. That the guide or guidance was to the organization's 160,000 members, all of them doctors, spokesman's claim. It was a blatant attempt to police language, and according to Reverend Michael Nazir Ali, former Bishop of Rochester and a prominent evangelical leader, it was a sad one at that. That society is being pushed in this direction, he told the UK Daily Mail. God has made us man. Mothers relate to their children in different ways than fathers. This ruling will confuse people about the vital role of mothers in bringing up their children. That I have for you is off of Medical Kidnap. It happened a while back, but I had not heard about it until just yesterday. To everybody's attention because apparently this is still ongoing. It says baby of parents who declined birth certificates still not returned in Alabama. Christian and Danielle Holm were devastated Tuesday when it became clear that their baby was not coming home with them that day. It has been more than 2 months since Alabama social workers and sheriffs ripped their newborn baby from this mother's arms and placed him into foster care, even though the parents have broken no laws and have not harmed their child. Judge Melody Brooks Walker was due to render a judgment in their case on Tuesday, December the 20th, after hearing the case on Wednesday and Thursday of the previous week. That didn't happen. The Holmes and several supporters came to the courthouse before the scheduled 4 p.m. hearing, hoping for answers. They received word Tuesday afternoon that Judge Walker had recused herself from the case that morning. This was reportedly done to avoid the appearance of impropriety. They were told that there was not to be another hearing or decision on the case until a new judge is appointed. They don't know when that will be. Tears flowed freely in the parking lot as Danielle learned that the judge would not be issuing any judgment and that she would not be getting her baby back that day. "I can't keep going home without my baby," she said. Christian Holm sought to understand what was happening. "This is inhumane to torture our little baby and us like this," he says. A number of supporters were visibly shaken. They told Health Impact News that they could not comprehend how DHR and the court could continue to do what they're doing to such loving people as the Holmes. Janet Barber, a supporter who stood alongside the couple throughout their ordeal, addressed Judge Walker's comment about impropriety. "Kidnapping is improper," she said. She and others were adamant that the parents have done nothing to deserve having their baby taken from them. They don't understand why there continues to be delays in the Holmes baby coming home. They told Health Impact News that there is no evidence of any wrongdoing on the part of Danielle or Christian Holm, and that there is no reason for their baby to have been taken. This is the original story on it. It says, newborn baby kidnapped from Alabama hospital after parents decline birth certificate and social security number. Forced unwanted medical treatment from strangers prior to going to the hospital. The series of events leading up to taking of the still unnamed baby home contained too many coincidences for the family's supporters to believe are mere happenstance. There are many questions regarding what is going on with the Selborne County Chia State Park and Anniston's Regional Medical Center. Danielle and Christian Holm had been traveling across the country, camping out in various state parks and spreading their message of getting back to nature and rejecting the materialism that has consumed much of modern society. They loved mountains and their freedom, and they found in nature. They were expecting their first baby with excitement and anticipation as their travels brought them to Mount Cheaha State Park in Alabama. Along their travels, they met with midwives and doulas, and even had an ultrasound done about 2 months before their birth of their baby. They left their car behind in Montgomery and had been at Mount Cheaha for about 2 weeks before Danielle went into early labor on October the 8th of 2016. Their camp was set up in a recreational area that was away from other campers, a place where they were told was not a site normally used by campers. The weather was mild and there had been no rain for weeks. The state was in an extreme drought and a burn ban was in effect. They had met Tammy Power, the superintendent of Chia State Park. Despite the burn ban, she allegedly gave them permission to build a fire at their campsite. During the day on Sunday, there were some other visitors who, for unknown reasons, reportedly set up camp near their site. Tammy Power allegedly went to the Holmes camp to let them know that she had given visitors permission to build a fire to cook some meat and vegetables. There was also a couple who came to the ordinarily isolated area of the park, apparently to take pictures of some children. By early evening, the visitors were reportedly gone, and Danielle's labor grew more intense. She and Christian became concerned when they saw some bleeding occurring with her contractions. Even though they had prepared an unassisted birth, they recognized they probably needed to go to the hospital. Christian called 911. He recalled that Tammy Power had told him earlier that if he needed to call for help, he should tell the 911 operator that they were in Shelburne County and that the dispatcher needed to contact her. Later, supporters who visited the campsite said that it was in Clay County, not Selborne County. Chia State Park covers 2,799 acres in both Clay and Selborne counties. The question why Ms. Powers was making a point that the couple should state that they were in Selborne County. Shortly after Christian made the 911 call, park security official Sandlin arrived on the scene and radioed Tammy Power. She and her niece allegedly arrived shortly after with about 6 other civilians in black SUVs. At the time, they reportedly told Christian that the additional people happened to be at the park restaurant and heard about Danielle being in labor. Tammy Power later reportedly told a different version. On the way down, they asked what was going on and then decided to join Tammy when they learned that there was a woman in labor. At any rate, the strangers were brought uninvited to the Holmes campsite by the park superintendent. niece, Amber Smith, and two of the strangers happened to be nurses. Conveniently, they happened to have gloves and other medical equipment with them. Danielle's labor was getting very painful, and she was standing and leaning on her husband when the unexpected and unwanted visitors arrived. The park superintendent reportedly pushed Christian away from his wife and took over his spot as one of the new arrivals told Christian that they used to work as emergency room nurses and that they were ready to help. He even had a little medical kit with him. One of the nurses told Danielle that they needed to check her vitals. Danielle allegedly told them that she didn't ask for that. It was at this time that things allegedly got very strange. Ms. Power insisted that Danielle hold on to her while the female nurse, who was not her niece, began pushing Danielle's legs apart, insisting, I have to check to make sure the baby's okay. You have to let me in there. Your baby is not going to be healthy if you don't let me in there. Besides the inappropriate nature of the methods the alleged nurse was using, the stranger on the scene did not have Danielle's permission to touch her. Danielle was trying to focus on her intense labor and was not really in a position to fight the gloved woman, but she told her repeatedly, please don't touch me, please don't. She screamed no when the woman shoved her hand up inside her in the middle of a contraction. The woman called out to her companions that Danielle was dilated 3 meters and that the baby was breech. It is unclear how the woman decided that the baby was breech at 3 centimeters dilation. She allegedly did not palpate or feel the outside of Danielle's belly to try to determine the position of the baby. Health Impact News consulted a couple of home birth midwives who stated that it would be very unlikely or even a skilled practitioner to determine that the baby was breech based solely on an internal exam. Doctors generally rely on ultrasound to tell the position of the baby, while midwives use their hands to palpate the baby through the mother's belly. Had the nurse listened to the baby's heart rate, that could have given good indication of the baby's position, but that allegedly didn't happen. This mother was reportedly resisting the assault to her body, which would make it difficult to determine any useful information from the unwelcome vaginal exam. The midwives we consulted said that there's no way that a vaginal exam or lack thereof has any ability to ensure a healthy baby. That is not the way that information about the health of the baby is gleaned. The nurse didn't attempt to listen to the baby with the Doppler or stethoscope, which would have shown the baby's heart rate and could have given a trained attendant information about the status of the baby. Neither Danielle nor Christian recognized either of the alleged nurses. The female nurse is described as being a heavyset woman with short blondish hair. The male nurse was older, probably late 50s, with white hair. Neither worked with the ambulance company. Legally, this is considered assault for medical personnel to do anything to a patient over their objections, and that applies whether the patient is on the side of the road or in an accident or in an emergency room. Oddly enough, there was another person in the group that Christian recognized. One of the men had been near their campsite earlier in the day. He was one of the pair that was given permission by Tammy Power to have a fire and cook meat and vegetables. Shortly after this, Christian was able to get to his wife Tammy's truck so they could drive to the place where they met the ambulance. When they arrived at the rendezvous point, there were reportedly 3 or 4 more cars full of people, even though the park had been all but abandoned earlier in the evening. The couple wondered where all the people came from. It was like there was people and headlights everywhere. About 15 minutes after Christian called 911, someone else called 911, reporting a pregnant girl at the state park with complications. The Holmes don't know who made that call. No one knew about any problem with the labor until he had called and the gang arrived on the scene. Interestingly, the records from dispatch only show the second 911 call, not the one that Christian made. The record of that phone call seems to have disappeared from the state records. Supports say that it all seemed like there were too many coincidences to be logical. They transported to Anniston Regional Medical Center. Immediately upon arrival, the doctors performed an ultrasound and found the baby to be in the proper head down position. He was not breech. One of the documents said the Holmes were asked to ask who they wanted to allow into the delivery room. They signed stating that they didn't want any visitors at all. They view birth as a sacred private event and wanted to keep it that way as much as possible, even though they now were in the hospital. Shortly after, a nurse came into the room saying that the park superintendent, Tammy Power, was at the hospital and wanted to come up to the room. Danielle and Christian said no, they had already made their wishes clear. About 20 minutes later, Tammy Power allegedly came into the delivery room anyway. It's unclear how she got past the hospital's security protocols or if they even had such protocols in place. Even though her presence made it very uncomfortable for the couple, they were polite to her and didn't kick her out immediately. However, she tried to convince Christian to leave the room, telling him that he needed to go get something to eat. He had no intentions of leaving his wife, who was in labor. Danielle was between 9 and 10 centimeters at that point. No father who wants to maintain a relationship with a mother in the future would dare to leave her side at that time. The Holmes say that Ms. Power's behavior was very disturbing to them. She kept repeating, "We're family." They weren't. They barely knew her. They were nice to her for a little while, but Christian finally asked her to leave. It was their sacred family time. Their baby was born perfect health on the morning of October the 10th. Parents originally falsely accused as drug smugglers. Our original story states that the police originally came into the hospital alleging that Danielle and Christian were other people who were drug traffickers from Arizona. Supporters have since learned that how that came about. Hospital security guards testified that a nurse at the hospital Googled Christian Holm and found a news article out of Arizona about a man with similar name who had been arrested for drug smuggling. The article linked him to a woman named Daniela. In another context, this could have played out like a comedy of errors in an entertaining sitcom. However, in the hospital that touts itself as the first baby-friendly hospital in the state of Alabama, the nurse's poor analysis of his Google search had devastating consequences. The missionary dad is Christian Clark Holm. The man arrested in Arizona was Richard Christian Holm. The missionary mother is Danielle Holm, and the woman arrested in Arizona was Daniela Ruiz. Different last name and one eye. The two criminals were arrested on 2 different days for 2 different crimes in 2 different places in Arizona border. The article clearly states that it was 2 separate incidents. There's no indication that the 2 criminals in Arizona even knew each other. The only connection revealed by an in-depth Google search is the fact that both appear in the same articles. The articles also appear to originate from the same source, which simply lists a couple of crimes occurring around the same time period. And there is a link if you want to take a look at that. It says 2 arrested in drug smuggling attempt at the border. The article continues. It says, even though the mistaken identity was easily cleared up, DHR still kept the baby, faulting the parents for refusing a birth certificate and social security number. Christian Holm has presented documents to everyone involved with the case that these are not crimes and that there is no law compelling them to obtain these for their baby. And then there is a link you can click on that says FBI investigates baby kidnapped from couple in Alabama who declined birth certificate and social security number. The article continues. It says, one supporter asked how Anniston Regional Medical Center could be considered baby friendly when breastfeeding newborns are taken from their mother's breast without evidence of abuse. The most baby friendly act would be to keep mother and baby together. The first 3 months of baby's life is considered by many experts to be the 4th trimester. Babies are quite immature when they are born, and close mother-baby contact is vital to their well-being. Being snatched from mothers by overzealous social workers is anything but baby-friendly. This is the same hospital where Sabrina Carte gave birth to her youngest baby, who was taken from her at 2 days old simply because DHR had custody of her other children. Judge Melody Walker in Selborne County DHR were involved with their case as well. Like the Holmes, the Cartes were also under the unconstitutional gag order. After a very long, hard-fought battle, the Carte children are home. The baby spent most of her first 2 years in foster care. And there's another link, says Alabama seizes 7 children from family after child with autism wanders into neighbors. It says forged documents support state kidnapping. There are alleged discrepancies between documents filed at the courthouse and the records from hospital. Some documents that should match don't. Some dates are not lining up. There's one hospital document where the social worker Christian Alex Martin signed as the mother of the baby, certifying by her signature that the mother received her baby, and checked the hospital band on the mother and the baby. The false signature was allegedly witnessed by the nurse at the RMC. A paralegal advocate from another state who has been working with the family drove to Alabama in order to help the Holmes. He came out of the courthouse shortly after the hearing began on December the 14th, saying that Judge Melody Walker had asked him to leave because he's not an attorney. I don't think it's proper, he said. Yet the foster parents were allowed to stay. They are strangers to the family, whose only connection to them is the baby that came into their care at 24 hours of age. This makes no sense to the Holmes supporters. What is really going on in Selburne County, Alabama? The FBI has allegedly said that they are investigating. How can you help? Supporters have set up a Facebook page called #FreeBabyHolm, and that's HOLM, Free Baby Home, where people may follow the story and offer support. Call Alabama Governor Robert Bentley's office at 334-242-7100. He may also be contacted at a link that you can click on in the article. He's also on Facebook. And that was Alabama Governor Robert Bentley, Bentley. Senator Gerald Dial is the senator for Selburne County. He may be reached at 334-242-7874, and there's a link where you can click to contact him as well. Representative Richard Lindsay represents their district. He may be reached at 334-242-7713, and again, there is a link that you can use to contact him online. According to the Alabama Family Rights Association, the ALFRA, Alabama has a 9-member task force created to examine the work of the Alabama Department of Human Resources, or DHR. If you have issues or concerns about DHR services, your best plan of action is to contact the following legislators and lawmakers and committee members. Connie Rowe is the state representative. She replaced Mac McCutcheon as the task force chair. 334-242-7600, and there's a link for his email, or her email. Chris England, state representative, 334-242-7703 or 205-535-4859, and again a link for the email for Chris England. Greg Reed, state senator, 334-242-7894, and a link to his Facebook page. The complete list of committee members can be found on a link that's called Executive Order number 11. So there you have that article. I thought that was very interesting, and we'll try to keep up to date on what's going on with Baby Holm. The next article that I have for you is off Natural News, and it says homeschool dad sues federal government for kidnapping his 7 children. Medical tyranny run amok. If there ever was a more pertinent threat to individual liberty and the God-given freedom of parents to care for their children how they best see fit, it is the entity known as Child Protective Services, CPS, which all across the country has ripped apart the lives of thousands of families. But an Arkansas family that was victimized by a shady and thoroughly corrupt CPS agency in their home state could soon see justice if a landmark lawsuit they recently filed is successful. A little over 2 years ago, Hal Stanley and his wife Michelle learned the hard way about how CPS views parents who defy the U.S. Food and Drug Administration pharmaceutical mandate for treating sick children. When the couple was found to be harboring a dietary supplement known as Miracle Solution, or MMS, in their home, MMS is not FDA approved. Armed law enforcement and CPS officials raided the home and kidnapped 7 of the family's homeschooled children for no other reason than simply for possessing a substance that is known to cure serious conditions like AIDS and cancer, because the FDA hates natural cures. After all, state officials abducted the Stanley children at gunpoint and illegally held them for months on frivolous charges. This is being the subject of the new lawsuit. At issue are allegations that the government agents violated several constitutional rights, such as due process, familiar association, and unlawful seizure, based on the First, Fourth, and 14th Amendments, and that those involved with taking the children lied to the court, fabricated evidence, and suppressed exculpatory evidence, reports Health Impact News. A full report by Health Impact News on what happened to the Stanleys are where they are today is accessible at healthimpactnews.com. Arkansas wastes millions in taxpayer dollars trying to defend its tyranny against the Stanleys. It's almost unfathomable to believe that such a scenario can even occur in the land of the free, but it happens all the time. In this case, the Stanleys did not, or try this again. In this case, the Stanleys did absolutely nothing other than raise their children mostly off the grid and mind their own business, which often makes one a target in this country and demands total compliance with pharmaceutical, vaccine, and other mandates. While the Stanleys lawsuit stands a real chance of success, it is an uphill battle because the state of Arkansas refuses to relent or admit that it violated law and committed egregious acts against this innocent family. The state has endless millions to apparently waste on trying to defend itself in court, but the Stanleys' funds are limited. This Christian family has been through so much trying to escape the clutches of an out-of-control government apparatus that is shamelessly eager to persecute anyone who veers too far from the fold of politically correct living beliefs. They need our help to fight the state and win this victory, which is why they have set up a fundraising page called But We See Jesus to see justice served. We are seeking redress because we are entitled under the law, the family's attorney, Joe Churchwell, wrote in a recent letter, injunctive relief to force the government to recognize the Bill of Rights. We're not doing this because we want to or because we think we're going to get rich, the letter added. This isn't simply a lawsuit. This is one part of the campaign for accountability and one step in the journey to take back our families' rights to be families. So there is that article. Then the final one that I have in this episode, this is off of Liberty Writers News, and it says, delete BuzzFeed. Look at the sick way BuzzFeed just attacked Ivanka Trump's baby. BuzzFeed contributor Natalie Shore told Ivanka Trump that her baby Theodore sucks. Her account is now currently set to private. Here's Ivanka Trump and her baby with try that again. Here is Ivanka Trump and her baby with her baby crawling on the White House floor. Oh, how cute is that? And there's a little video of it here if you'd like to see that in this article. And then here's the tweet from Natalie Shore. It says, in solidarity with Katie Rich, I'd like to point out this baby sucks. And Truth Bomber says, horrible at True TV producer, BuzzFeed writer Natalie Shirley attacks Ivanka Trump's 10-month-old baby. Bigotry from the left needs to stop. And there's some more tweets and stuff there. And the article finishes up by saying these new writers have forgotten that it is the United States. These Democrat journalists haven't been so mad since Republicans released their slaves. Who we have taken back the country from their PC culture BS. These leftists are so clouded by hate that they are now attacking babies. Let that sink in. And that's all I have for you in this episode, but there's going to be more episodes to follow, so stay tuned. If you like what I'm doing here, give it a thumbs up and let me know. Share it on your social media so other people get to hear the news as well. A lot of these things need to be broadcast more to wake more people up. Sub if you haven't subbed yet, and I'll see you in the next episode.